Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maryland Apex Accelerator webinar. Glad you could join us today. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak. I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here. Today, the webinar topic is Proposal Writing Level 2, and it is led by Keisha Foster, who is the founder of Key to Life Professional Services, LLC. We will get started very shortly, and you will have the opportunity to ask Keisha your questions by typing them in the chat box on your screen. We will pause for Q&A. A copy of the slides will be sent to you after the webinar, and I do have to let you know that this presentation is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel later today. For those of you who are not familiar with the Maryland Apex Accelerator, it's our mission to help Maryland businesses to compete in federal, state, and local government procurement processes. Our services are no cost to you. If you would like to speak with a counselor, please complete our client application form on our website, and we will assign a counselor if you meet the criteria for counseling, which is basically you have to have an established business, you have to be in the state of Maryland, that's it. We will pause at the top of the hour for a 5-minute break, but this presentation will be going on till 12 p.m. All right, good morning, Akeisha. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Yasmin, and welcome everyone to today's training. And so I always start off with the disclaimer. This training is, and its accompanying notes is, give you a thorough understanding. So if you have not had the training prior to this, and you struggle a little bit, just be patient and because this is part of a webinar series and the training that we have put together to really help you take it to the next level. Because we're having a lot of our small business clients who are really struggling with the proposal writing. So we started this series to really help you to just navigate and be successful in your proposal writing. So your instructor, I've been doing this for over 22 years. I'm a GovCon coach, consultant, because I do proposal writing, a former contracting officer specialist, and then I'm a former Apex Accelerator counselor. So I know some of the challenges that you all face with having so many clients and having to really work through where you have to be successful, and then where you need to focus most of your energy when you're going after government contracts. And then also, yes, I'm in the Army Reserve. Here's the agenda for today. And if you want to know a little bit more about me, I put it in the notes, my bio. If you feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect. So I'm always open to connecting and showing you where to go and to navigate. But get this training that we're giving you so that way you can be prepared. So this proposal writing level 2 class is designed to build on the foundational knowledge from the level 1 class. And while the level 1 class focused on the proposal structure and the compliance basics, the compliance matrix and how to go through and dissect, because many of our clients were having trouble. I believe it was 61% were having trouble with just reading the requirement. So it's important that you understand how to read it so that way you can craft a winning statement. And then what we'll do, we're going to dive deeper in developing each section of the proposal, refining your proposal content, and then responding to complex solicitations. The training is meant to provide you with a real world requirement. So that's why I went through in the previous training that we gave and pulled 2 opportunities showing you the difference between those opportunities. That's why each we always ask, well, can we get a template? Well, there is no template. I mean, we can give you a basic foundation. We can show you how, because each agency has a different format, a different structure, a different everything. So that's why we give you the basic fundamentals, and then you can build on it for your template. So if you're going after an opportunity with the GSA, they may have a different format. If you're going after NHI or any of those different agencies, we're giving you what are the basic fundamentals so that way you could be successful. So Today, we're going to cover those key components of winning a proposal, writing a winning proposal, including the technical capability. And then not all of your requirements is going to ask for a transition plan, but this requirement did because it's a follow-on. You understand what I'm saying? That's why it's important that you read the requirement, understand what they're asking for, and customize it for each requirement. So that's why it's not as easy as in the commercial sector because here in the government sector, they have specific things that you have to submit in your requirement. All right. Then we're going to talk about the management approach, your quality control, pricing, transitioning smoothly into the proposal response. So these different parts, sections of the proposals are important. These are the main sections you're going to encounter when you're giving your response. So the technical capability is going to showcase your team's skills, tools, processes, and how you're compliant with meeting the agency's needs and performing the work statement. So that's what we're going to be talking about today as we go through this session, and how the transition plan will outline how to create and transition the pre-mobilization, the service commencement, the risk of if this contract doesn't flow through, come from one contractor to the other, and so forth and so on, and how to communicate. And then the management approach that we're going to be talking about too is to learn how to structure your management approach by defining those key roles, communication strategies, and creating a solid program management plan. And then, of course, the quality control. How are you going to manage everything? We're going to be covering that. That's your feedback. So that's if it's going to be regular inspections, corrective actions, preventive maintenance, so forth and so on. The past performance, we talked about that. How you have to explain and highlight relevant projects. So what have you done for either it's going to be as an employee, prime contractor, or subcontractor, or vendor, whatever you want to call it. You have to prove to them that you've done this before and how well did you do it. So that's what we got to really understand when you drafting that past performance. You got to articulate that, and you can have pictures, you can do whatever it needs to be done. So like if you was in the construction, you'll put those different construction projects you had. You're in the janitorial, which this is a janitorial requirement that we've been going over in level 1. And what building, you can have a picture of the building you had. Okay, it was 2,500 square feet with 3 bathrooms. Having those case studies and proof points will speak volumes, because remember, we're selling our services to these agencies, and they're looking for the best person who can articulate that they can do this job at a competitive price. So the pricing is, how are you pricing your opportunity? So now let's do a quick poll. So then, of course, we're going to do the Q&A, the practical exercise, and additional resources. I've always try to put that in there. Okay, so how many attended the introduction to proposal writing level 1 training? Because that'll tell me how deep I can go. But I'm still going to go to the proposal level 2 training like we're supposed to. But I recommend that if you haven't taken that training and you don't understand some concepts or things we're going over in here, I recommend you go back to our Apex Accelerator YouTube channel. We always put that in the link for you. We put all that information in the different links in the chat for you, so you can go back and watch that. And because this session is, we're going to discuss the importance of moving to the next phase, right? This is the goal of this session, is to move beyond the basics of just compliance to focus on crafting the compelling response. So 74% of you came to the last training and 22% of you didn't. So welcome everyone back to the training, and those who are here new, just go watch the other training. So that way, if you feel like you missed anything, you can get from that. And then if you have questions, you always can reach out to your counselor. All right, so the introduction. So today, the essentials we're going to talk about today is in government contracting, right? In the sector, contracts are awarded based on clear and thorough understanding of the agency's needs, right? Then once we understand the agency's needs, it's because they're going to tell us in that RFP, it's detailed and instructions in the RFP going to tell us exactly what they want. And then the proposal, you're going to propose the response. That's the tool of communication. So the deeper dive is these key areas. The proposal allows your committee to demonstrate its capabilities, experience, and expertise. So this session is going to highlight how you are uniquely qualified to deliver the solution. And then you're going to include that past performance, the skills of your team, and the specific methods and methodologies or the technologies or whatever you use to get the desired outcome. Okay. So the technical capability. You'll notice when you see they'll use words like the technical approach, the technical capability. They want you to demonstrate to them how you planned on getting the response, right? So the methodology refers to the structured approach or system you use to complete the task. Now, while the processes are a specific steps involved in executing these tasks, so for this one, we're doing the janitorial services. So this would include how cleaning is scheduled, right? You got to talk about how the cleaning is scheduled, organized, and performed to meet the required standards. So that's why it's important that we always section out the proposal. And so when we go over to the practical exercise, I'm going to walk through the proposal because in the last session, you were supposed to build the draft outline and the compliance matrix. Now, this is the next step, the draft response. Okay, we did the requirements, the compliance matrix. Now we did the outline. So we know all of the things we have to discuss because we read the instructions. We did the evaluation criteria, and now we're and then we have did the submittal instruction. So you have everything documented, how the proposal cover is supposed to look, how everything is supposed to look. Because if you don't have those things, then you're not going to win because they're going to call it it's non-responsive. So then after we've done that, so the effective methodologies, the process to ensure efficiency, consistency, and a high quality of results, because that's what they're looking for. Now, the practical physical tools. So are you, such as the cleaning products, did they ask for eco-friendly products? Because that's what they're looking for. What was the strategic plan for that agency? What are some of their goals that they're trying to reach? Are they trying to get 10% eco-friendly products and stuff? And you're going to say in that section, those different types of tools that you have, so that having the right tools and resources is critical, because they're going to see that you've read the requirement, you understand what they're asking for, and then you told them what all equipment is, it OSHA standards and stuff like that, because that's going to be in the compliance. So the compliance refers to the following specific rules, laws, the guidelines that apply to those services. So in this case, we're talking about the janitorial service. So they're going to want to know, are you meeting industry standards? Are you doing the best practices? The cleanliness, safety, because safety is people can get hurt. So they want to make sure. And then how is it impacting that environment? Are you adhering to those regulations required by the contract? So, as we discussed, the social, such as OSHA, the OSHA standards, because that's what they're going to be looking for, those safety and data sheets. And because you are the expert at this, you should be able to tell them a detailed response because you've been doing this for over 10 years, 15 years, and so forth and so on. So that's why it's important to understand when you're going after these opportunities, you've already did your bid assessments, you already did your compliance matrix, we've already determined that this is a good opportunity to go after. And now we just got to articulate how we plan on doing it. Now, because the requirement was a recompete, so then now we have to create a transition plan. This is because it's a follow-on. It's a follow-on to a contract previously. So to ensure a smooth and efficient transition to the new janitorial service contract without disrupting the daily operations, how do you plan on doing that? They want to know. So you're going to have to put together your timeline. So it's going to be a timeline to let them know. So I always recommend when you do your timeline, you do just like in an Excel or a table, just talking about these key sections like the pre-mobilization meeting. So that's before the contract, before everything gets started, you're going to meet with your key stakeholders and everyone to find out exactly what they want, because the transition plan is critical for ensuring the smooth and seamless start to the services without disrupting the client's daily operations. It also outlines the key steps to take for the pre-mobilization meeting, key personnel. So like who's going to be the contract manager, who's going to be the alternate contract manager, who's going to be the supervisor / foreman. They play those essential roles in coordinating this process. So that's why it's important. How the staff going to be trained? How's everybody going to, because the only person who did the site visit was probably the supervisor or the CEO. So the team doesn't even know exactly how they're going to be doing the work and where's everything located. So having that map, how you're going to get your staff spun up on this opportunity. Because many times we want to get the contract, but once we get the contract, we don't know how to perform. We haven't properly prepared. We're understaffed. We don't have enough people to perform the contract. So that's why it's important to understand the roles that it happens. Then the communication. How do you communicate with the client? Will it be monthly, weekly? But at the beginning, you will do, sometimes the first week is daily because you got to make sure everything's in place. And then probably in the next week, you'll put once a week. And then every month or quarter, do a check-in, see how the staff is doing, because you're not the person on ground. So because you're not the individual on ground, it's imperative that you understand that that you make sure that everything is going according to plan. So say you just got this new subcontractor that came on, you haven't worked with them before. So you don't know the level of how they take care of their client. So you happen to vet this subcontract at the same time that you are learning a new organization, how they want things. Is the office always busy on Mondays and Thursdays? So we should plan 2 people or 3 people, because that's all in a part of that. So that's why I said it's important that you understand these things need to be captured in your transition plan, but a high level. Remember, we're doing everything at a high level. So keep everything at a high level, because you're going to do the internal with your company and your subcontractors and your employees. Then you will go basically, okay, this is giving them their checklist, and this is what I need you to do. This is how it needs to be done. And then we have to ensure that it gets done. So when you're doing that transition plan, everything is a smoothless transition from one service provider to the next one. Okay. And then making sure you have the open. Many times we do not talk to our contracting officer representatives, the person who was assigned to manage, that's the eyes and ear of the contracting office. They're the ones who's looking to see if you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. And that's why it's important to build a relationship with them. And then if there's any potential concerns, that you have contingency plans for unexpected issues and stuff like that to keep from the disruption. So now we're going to talk about the management approach. So the management approach, this is the one you're going to have to really demonstrate how you plan on to delivering. So your organizational structure refers to how the team, because we have a lot of new businesses or just getting started. You don't really have a team. You still haven't built your organizational chart. And if you're going to, like I said, if you're going to have those subcontractors, where do they fall in? So it's important to understand the organizational structure that you're setting in place, and then identifying those key personnel. Because when a key personnel is involved in this particular project, that means they expect them to be on this contract, because those are the resumes that you submitted on this contract. So if you plan on replacing them, and normally you have to do it in writing, and then you have to replace them within a certain amount of time. So then you're going to write that into the proposal response. You want to be able to talk to them and let them know, this is how we do our staffing, this is how we do our key personnel positions, because those are key positions and you have to replace them. That could affect your contract, your CPARs, because those positions are critical. Okay, so then after you've did all your critical tasks, ensuring the success of the contract, and then that way you're able to update the leadership. Now your project management plan outlines how the project will be executed, monitored, and controlled. So this is going to include those schedules, the resources, the milestones, and the goals. Now for this one, because it's a janitorial services contract that we've been working on for this opportunity, this ensures that all tasks are completed on time, within your budget, and to satisfy the client's is satisfied, because that's the key to make sure that they're getting what they asked for. They're receiving a quality service and making sure that we fulfill the contract as discussed. And then the risk management, it is definitely, you have to definitely do this, because say something happens, right? You got to identify those potential risks that could disrupt the service and the delivery. And what we're trying to do is mitigate those risks, trying to put in different plans of actions, so that way, if we've already did our little scenarios, okay, if this happened, we're going to do this. If that happens, we're going to do this. So that is important that you do, because if you eliminate some of those risks, and then just in case, okay, so I'm going to have 2 subcontractors on hand, because if this one doesn't work out, because we just started working together, I really don't know how established they are. They told me they were established. It seemed like a good fit, but when they got started to working, it wasn't such a good fit. Who do you have to replace that person? So then you want to document that as well in your plan. And then the contingency plans, also you have to do your preventive measures to address those staff issues. So like I said, then equipment failure. How about your equipment doesn't? So that's why I said it's important to think about all these things in the, why you're not being reactive, because when we're in a reactive mode, what we do, we tend to miss things. We tend to make it worse than really what it is. So that's important to address these things in your management approach. And like I was telling you, we're going to go with that in the practical, where I'm going to show you a management approach, so that way you can at least have a start. Each of these ones that we're going over now is for the instruction and what is supposed to be in that. So when we go to the practical, you'll know what questions to ask, and you'll see how it all comes together. So when you get a copy of the slides, you're making notes. Okay, this is what I need to make sure. This is your checklist. This is what you're going to use when you're building out your proposal outline to draft your first draft of the proposal, so that way you're not missing anything. And then when you review your compliance matrix, you're seeing things that you lessons learned, and then you implement it in your template. So every time you use your template or your boilerplate language, it's customized for each opportunity, because it's hard to start from scratch. But when you've done this a couple of times, you'll start seeing the trends. You'll start seeing the same things over. You'll see the same sections for this agency. You've really learned this agency well, so you'll get faster at crafting those proposal responses, and that your management approach to that different opportunity. That's why when you're brand new getting started in business, we tell you to focus on 1 to 2 things. And sometimes you are the person performing the work. You're part of the team. So you're the project manager because you have the skills necessary. You've been doing this for over 22 years. And then you had hired a subcontractor, an employee. They're part of your team. So that for now, who's doing the back office? Then you got your virtual assistant or your administrative assistants who's managing, but then you have to be able to manage and perform a job if that's the case, if that's how you're going to do it, because most of them are doing both. They're running the business and they're working in the business when you first get started, because you're making sure you build your team, and then the goal is to replace yourself. But to replace yourself, you have to then put that in place. How much is the hourly rate? All those different things like that. So the management approach is very important for demonstrating that you are ready to go to the next level and that you are an established business. Now, the quality control plan. So now the quality control plan, this is critical to ensuring that all the services meet the contract's required standard. They have given you that contract, you've read it, they've asked for certain things. So in janitor services, they want 2 times a week cleaning, or they want daily cleaning. Are you making sure that happens, right? By implementing these regular inspections as the CEO, the person who signed the contract saying that we're going to get this done, you have to make sure that works get done, because sometimes if you don't check it, it doesn't happen. You know, when you're in leadership roles, you have to check and make sure the work is getting done. And that way it makes sure everybody stays honest, make sure you protect your staff. So they say, well, they wasn't coming in and cleaning, but you've done your regular inspection. No, it's been getting done. It's just there's a high volume of people coming in. So I recommend that we move the cleaning from 2 times a week to 3 times a week, so that way we can help keep it clean. You understand? Because you'll see these things when you just sent your team in, they just did the cleaning. So that's why it's important to do the regular inspections to protect you and the client, you know, the agency, because you got that feedback, and it prevents things from saying, oh, we never clean the bathroom. When you come in every morning and clean the bathroom, by the end of the day, it's just a mess. So then they might want to have they have the cleaning service come in the morning and in the evening, and you will articulate that in the proposal response. So that's why it's important when you do your quality control plan, you're thinking about how you're going to exceed the standards. I mean, it's nice to meet, but if you exceed the standards, you're going to win. You're going to get an exceptional CPARs. So that way they're going to come back out and use you again. And having the highest quality of service is definitely admirable. If they need a tiebreaker to see who's going to win the contract, you both got the same experience, same amount of staff, your pricing is basically the same. What is the tiebreaker? You exceed the standards. You see, you got to have those different things to differentiate and set your company apart. And having those feedback mechanisms is going to help your company to grow quicker. Okay, then the compliance tracking. Now, how are you going to track because many times we don't track it. We have to have our our dashboard. We got to have those different things set in place for the tracking of how are we going to track? Because say you got 4 different projects you're working on. You want to make sure that it's going to the correct project, the correct team, and then identifying where there are irregularities or any so you're getting back a lot of client complaints and then so you have to identify why. So that's why they want you to articulate in your proposal response, how do you plan on helping us? How do you plan on mitigating those risks? How do you plan on making sure that you provide a well quality control program. Okay, so now let's get to the past performance. In our previous training, we discussed, we put in the level 1 training, we put in a template. So at the notes section, you got a template. But because some people didn't attend that training, so we put in another exercise and the practical exercise just to show you what's supposed to go in the past performance. So now when you think of past performance can be your employee experience. It can be your company experience. It can be as a first tier subcontractor or second tier subcontractor. The contractor tiers just mean, okay, this is the person that's directly working with the prime contractor. And then because you are a sub and you have a sub under you, that could be the second tier subcontractor. So you see how it goes and so forth. But when you do that, then the rate is constantly going down. So that's why it's important when you're doing subcontracts to think about, it's recommended to do first tier and sub, the sub tier 2, right? But then when you start going down more, that rate goes down more and more. So, but if you have a specialty, that helps as well. If you only do assessments, if you only do those, and you're an analyst and you only analyze data scientists or something of that nature. So that'll help you with your past performance. Now, relevant project examples, too many times we'll have a janitorial company. Yes, and then they want to go after IT. Okay, so what experience do you have in IT? So that's why when we say relevant, similar projects, we're saying if you've done janitorial services, cleaning services for a company, as an employee or as a subcontractor, then list it. Just explain what you did. Well, I was an employee for ABC company. I have been in the janitorial services business for 14 to 15 years. And we've worked on 2,500 square feet. You quantifying so they can understand. And that's why we say put those pictures. That's why we say get those client testimonials, those references, those performance matrix, because then you're speaking their language. They understand that you know what they're looking for. You've done it for XYZ. You've done it 3 times. You've in the past 5 years. So that's why it's important that, and then that way you'll do that for every opportunity. And every time you start an opportunity, you update your past performance. So that way you have a running sheet where you keep all your projects. You've taken pictures. You have pictures of your employees there performing the service. So what you're building is your intellectual just stuff that's going to market and you can use in other proposal responses saying, okay, this is what we've done. So that's why it's important. So showcasing those similar projects of your company, that's demonstrating everything to the client. And then those performance matrix, we talk about that every time. Quantifiable performance matrix is better because you've done it on the previous contract, or I've done it 3 times and I've had a successful CPARs, no complaints. You have to use stuff that's kind of almost like tangible, so that way we can really see it. Everything won't be, but it's best to try to do as much as you can. And then those testimonials, because they're going to want all that information because they're going to verify it. So if it was in the private sector, you were cleaning a house, or, use what you got just to get started. But then basically, if you're just getting started, then you're going to have to do it in a certain way. So that means, I'm not going to work directly with the agency yet. I should do a subcontract. I should work for a prime contractor so I can build my past performance up. So it's all about seeing where you are currently, writing to it, and then knowing who you are going to go after. So Are we going to go after an agency? Are we ready to go after an agency? And then if we're not ready to go after the agency, then where are we in this phase? That's the importance. You have to know where you are in the phase. Okay, the next one. Okay, so now the pricing. This is where a lot of us struggle with, is the pricing. All right, the first thing you have to do for this requirement, they ask for you to basically to input the pricing directly on the form, right? But not all of the time, and even when you have to enter your pricing on the form, you still need to be able to articulate that you have did your breakdown. So I always recommend you get an Excel spreadsheet. You know what are your costs. You've listed all of your costs and you broke them down. And I'll show you a sheet after the break of just listing those prices, because that's why we do the practical exercise, so you can see one broken down for you, so you know how to create one. And then they want, because you basically justifying your pricing, because if it says it's a firm fixed price contract, that means basically you're going to be responsible for everything, the cost, everything. So you need to know how much it costs to have 3 individuals on your team. You need to know, because you're going to have to buy the cleaning supplies. You're going to have to do provide all the equipment. So it's important that you break down all those costs so you can know what your break-even point is. Now, once you know where your break-even point is, then that's going to really help you to understand, okay, well, we can provide this service at this cost because it takes a certain amount of money for 2 individuals. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's important that you understand what your cost is, and then that way you'll know how to break it out. Okay, so then once we got that Excel spreadsheet, you've listed all those things. And because you're new to responding to these requirements, it's essential that you create a list of all your expenses. You need to determine, so that way you'll determine how much you need to charge, ensuring that you've covered all your costs, such as the pay for your employees. Well, say you got subcontractors, although you don't have to pay for their workman's comp and all those, their taxes and stuff like that. You still got to pay them for the salary, and then they're responsible for doing all of their other costs. So that's important to take a look at too. So as we break down each part of the section, we're going to see that it's important that you have those different things in place and that you've already driven it, so you know what your break-even point is, because the goal is to generate a profit. And if you're not generating a profit, then you're going to go out of business. And too many of our small businesses are not generating a profit because they haven't did the homework or the pre-work before they respond for an opportunity. Then they didn't add up the cost, so they didn't price the proposal accordingly, and now they're going out of business. You understand what I'm saying? Because now you can't afford to even perform the work because you can't hire the correct people for this job because you didn't price it right, or you underbid the pricing and you can't justify it. There's no way you can justify the pricing because you didn't accurately break down all the costs. Now we're going to talk about the executive summary. Now, because the contract is before I keep going, let me stop for a quick minute and make sure I don't have any other questions, because I'll go, and sometimes we do have questions. Yasmin, do we have any questions?
Hi, Keisha. Let's have a look here. In case of pricing, do you distinguish direct from indirect cost?
Well, that depends on the contract. Remember, because if this is a firm fixed price contract, then they're telling you just to fill out the unit price and the total amount. And if you want to give them a little blurb in your proposal response how you broke down your pricing, that's okay, because basically they just want to make sure you're doing the right thing. But if it's a time and materials contract, they want to know everything. You understand? Or if it's a cost reimbursable contract, you trying to get reimbursed for everything that is allowable. So then that one mostly is the indirect and the direct costs, and then the overhead and the G&A. That's when you really start breaking down those costs. But if it's a firm fixed price contract, they've already told you in this contract, this is a firm fixed price contract. Basically, they just want to know that this is going to be competitive. This is the lowest price technically acceptable. And in this case, you would only tell them that you've broken down the price in your response to be competitive, and it's in the price range. And that's why we had to do the pricing class separate, because there's so many nuances to the pricing. So that's why we have a cost plus class on, let me tell you the date on that one. The cost proposal class is October the 17th, where we're going to have a bunch of examples. We're going to walk through the direct, indirect costs, the G&A, and the, everything, and how you will put that together. So that's the reason why the pricing for this opportunity that we went over in level 1 was just straight. They were straightforward, firm, fixed price. They wanted to know how much you're going to charge us, and we're looking for the price lowest acceptable. Okay.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. Do you want to take them now?
Yes,
or
I'm going to
later?
keep that because I'm trying to get them all now, because I don't want to get them.
Okay, next one is, all right. How do you respond to the requirement without simply restating everything that was stated?
Okay, so the way I've learned to do that is, so it's important. So sometimes they're going to ask you the same question in section 2.1, and then they'll go back and ask you that section again in 3.4, right? You sometimes you have to restate it because they ask you the question again, but you can restate it just a little bit differently. But that's what the compliance matrix for. It'll keep you from saying the same thing over again, but you'll know how to reference it. So in their case, if they ask you, it's a science. I'm not going to even lie to you, because I've had to do proposals so many times and had to rewrite the same thing over again in a different section, because they asked me the same thing in a different section. But you don't want to be non-responsive, so you have to answer it again, but just try to be more concise and just word it just a little bit different. But I'm telling you, they're going to ask you sometimes. They're going to ask you the same thing in 3 different sections, and you got to answer it in 3 different sections. Because sometimes, let me tell you why they do that. Because they happen to break the requirement. You got one person evaluating the technical capability, then you got another person that's doing, because we have specialists. So then you have another person evaluating the pricing, and then you have another contracting professional, because they're a team. Sometimes it's a team evaluating all these responses. And so they're not going to just stop, hey, give me that paper for A, B, C, D. Oh, give me that. No, they got to have that information they need to evaluate that opportunity. So in the event that you have to say it again, because we don't know how they're going to evaluate this. Is it one person? Is it 3 people? Is it a team? You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it's important that you do it. Do it again, because we never know how they're going to evaluate, and you want to make sure that question is answered.
Okay, thanks. We have a couple of questions regarding subcontractors. The first one is, how do you include subcontractor experience in your proposal? And the second part is, can the contracting officer let you know how a subcontractor is performing rather than you physically going into location to check on their performance?
Well, remember, the way it goes is, because if you're the prime, right, you deal directly with the government, right? The subcontractor is basically is working for you. So that is your responsibility. So that's the reason why they always tell you, when it's that's your responsibility, not ours. We work directly with the prime. So because you know that they work directly with you and they ain't gonna say nothing to the subcontract, they gonna just go tell the COR, hey, this subcontract's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then the subcontractor, the COR is gonna call you and let you know, hey, your subcontractor's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. How are you gonna fix it? Because that's the reason why they make you get the subs, so they don't have to be responsible for it. You understand what I'm saying? And then how you articulate that on your proposal response. So sometimes the RFPs will say, or the solicitations will say, list all your subcontractors right here. But if you're sprinkling them in and you bring in a subcontract, you will put them under your team. Remember the team. So when you're writing out your team, you're just going to basically say who your subcontractors is. You understand what I'm saying? So it's dependent on how they require you to list your subcontractor experience. So that's why if they don't give you a way to do it, then you do it the way that you feel like it will add value to. Because see, if you're using a subcontractor resume as a key person now, then are you hiring them? Or if you're only using them as a subcontractor, then they're gonna want to know, are you hiring them as a 1099 or are you hiring their company? You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's different ways that you have to document that depending on what model you're using. So that's why it's that one you will definitely have to, it's case by case basis, because it's a certain way you have to do when you're doing your proposal response if you're using a subcontract.
Okay, that's all for now. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so let's keep on, because that, we're about to get to the end of the hour and I still have to go over the executive summary. But what I try to do is get all of the questions. But if I don't get your question in this session, or I try to take all of the chat comments and everything and I incorporate in the next session too. So that's why it's important. Even if we don't get to you, I try to get it incorporated in the next session. So that way you always know that this is a living class, so that way we can keep making the class better and really informing our small business on how to be really responsive and complete craft compelling responses that's going to win them contracts. Now we're going to talk about the executive summary. I always do my executive summary last. I put my, your boilerplate language, you put your, you draft your outline, what sections you're talking about, because the overall goal of the executive summary is we're trying to capture their attention and we're summarizing our key points, right? Making the executive summary the client focus. So it's client focused. Too many times, I've seen so many executive summaries talk about the company. I get that. I get it. You're trying to advertise, but that's not the time or the place to do it. That is the time. This is the time where you need to explain to them how I'm going to solve your problem. This is what we're going to do for you. This is how we're going to do for you. And this is why we're going to do this for you. You understand what I'm saying? So many times, so that's why when I'm creating the executive summary, I've already put my proposal outline together. I know what I want to talk about. I know what I've talked about. I've incorporated my win themes, and you'll learn more about that in the advanced. This is the next level too. Our goal is one day to have a really advanced of giving all the techniques, setting all the other things up. But right now we're just trying to learn and teach you the basics. So that's to come, hopefully in the future. So the executive summary is to talk about their challenges, their goals, and their requirements. You understand what I'm saying? This is how we keep them understanding what needs to be done. So this is to demonstrate a deep understanding as outlined from the RFP and the performance work statement. So you look at the instructions on the solicitation, you put all that stuff together. That's why you completed the proposal outline. Once we completed that proposal outline, we use that to draft the first draft. And that's why it's important. Once you've drafted that first draft, then those are the things you're going to use to sprinkle in your executive summary. All right. Because what you're going to do is you're going to showcase what makes your approach different than others. Okay. We use eco-friendly products for the last 25 years. These are the results. This is how we've helped the environment. Are you meeting their goals and so forth and so on? Because that's what they want to know. Are you helping us save the community? Are you helping us do this? And then your specialized expertise. Okay, what's your track record? We have a 95%, we have a 97%, we have 100% success with the similar contracts, with our innovative tools, our cost saving techniques, and so forth and so on. So this, you talking about yourself, but it's how you use your craft to help this company, and then how it aligns with the RFP. So everything we do, it aligns with the RFP. Everything we write is to align with the RFP. So when we use the language from the RFP, the request, basically all that information comes from your performance work statement. That's why I was really wanting to teach our small business the importance of breaking down that performance work statement, that you understand the specific tasks that you've been asked to do. We'll get the contract, we don't perform the work, and then you wondering why you didn't perform the work, because you did not complete the performance work statements, the specific tasks you have been contracted to do. And then that's why they want to see if you understand the requirement, if you can articulate to them in writing and give, going back to the requirement. Okay, specific tasks, all these specific tasks go toward this, that, and the other. You understand what I'm saying? So then, where possible, also include those quantifiable outcomes, those matrix. So when you have to think about something and really, because you only got, I always say do one page, at least one page, depending on the requirement, how many pages they give you. Some requirements say you can only use 10 pages. So that means I got to allocate enough pages for my technical pages. I got to allocate one page for my executive summary. So that's why the compliance matrix, because then you'll know, okay, I only got one page for the executive summary. You've already allocated all your pages. So then you might want to go in there, especially when they only give you a certain amount of pages. You got to allocate those pages correctly. And when you allocate those pages correctly, it's going to ensure that you don't go over, because I'm telling you, I've seen them, they won't even look at if it go over the page count. And I've had so many small business, I'm going to send them 20 pages, but they only ask for 10 pages. And then you wonder why they're not responding, because you're not following the instructions that they've given you. They want you to put it in 10 pages. They want to see if you can make it as concise and as easy as possible to explain to us, because that means we know that you understand what we said, because you was able to speak to us, that you understand it, and you was able to do it. And yes, it is hard. You have to take away all the fluff, because it's to take away the fluff, because many times many of us will keep giving all of the fluff out, and they've not asked for all of that. So that's the reason why they want you to articulate your needs. So if you've been in janitorial services for 25 years, for example, then you're going to tell them, okay, I've been in janitorial services for 25 years, doing such and such, such and such. I've done this for federal. I've done this for state. I've done this for commercials. That means you have a diversified portfolio, right? Is it for the state of Maryland, Virginia, and DC? So then you have, so when you think about all these different things, what makes you unique, or we're 10 miles away from the building. So if we can answer calls within 24 hours, you'll start thinking of things that'll make you differentiate your company and to really articulate to you how to sell. Because what we're learning, how to sell, because when you're in a business, you have to be able to sell. And because selling is so important in our business, if you can't sell your products and services, you're definitely going out of the business. And then the last one, the alignment with the agency's needs and goals. I always recommend you go look at the strategic plan for that agency, because it's just like anything. You're getting to learn your customer. You're getting to learn what are their challenges that they face. Where do they need your help? Where do they need your support in identifying the challenges that they're facing and how you plan on addressing? Or if they keep having to go out there and recompete an opportunity over and over again because they're not getting the service that they've asked for. So that's why it's important to really understand, when you're crafting this executive summary, you're talking to decision makers, you're talking to executive, you're talking to the evaluation. This document right here needs to be taken time out, get rid of the fluff, concise, what we do, how we're going to meet your needs, and so forth and so on. So, but I want to also tell you about a great book, because I thought I had put it in your slides, but I'm not sure if I did or not, because I was trying to get these slides out to you all. So because I believe in reading, readers are leaders. I really recommend that you go get the Writing Business and Bids and Proposals for Dummies. That those dummy series, they have it for capture, they have it for business development, they have it for proposal writing. I mean, this one is for proposal writing. And because you're not going to get everything you need in just one session or two sessions, it's a lifelong just a lifelong learning. And then as you keep practicing it and practicing, it becomes a part of you, but it's a learning curve. And like I said, you're not going to get it all in this, but I'm going to repeat the book again just to make sure everyone gets it. Because see, I'm APMP, that's the Associate Proposal Management program, I believe, because I always mess that acronym up. And that's the APMP. And they recommend that we always do, it's called Writing Business Bids and Proposals for Dummies. So you can Google it. You just go on Google it, get the book, and take your time and only focus on the section that you're having troubles with. So many times people read it, you can try to read the book from cover to cover, but they never do. So I always recommend, if you're having trouble with organizing your proposal and building a repeatable process, then I want you to go get that book. Because in the next section, we're going to be breaking out. Let me see, because I believe the next slide should be us getting ready for our practical exercise walkthrough. So let me talk about that before we go on our break, because I want you to get back and get ready, have your notes. And then at the end, because if I keep stopping when we're doing the practical exercise, I don't want to lose the momentum. So that's why when we start the practical exercise, I don't take any more questions to the end when we go to the questions, because I don't want to lose train of thought, and I want to keep to the very responsible of others' time, because I know this is a 2-hour block of instructions, so we always try to be mindful that people have to get back to work, get everything. So I never go over. I try to stay within those time limits. So what we're going to talk about, we're going to review a sample RFP. Now, this sample RFP is the one that we talked about in the level 1 class. We pulled down the draft. I'm going to pull that draft back up again for those who didn't take the level 1 training. And I want you to make sure that if it's, I'm not sure if it's still available. They could have archived it. I don't know. So what you do is you get that information that we're going over. You're going to download everything. You're going to continue to work on it, refine it, use that as your practical exercise. You're going to use the lesson, because that we're going to go through. And then we're going to talk about that same requirement when we break down the costs, when we're going over the costs, just so you see why I kept using the same requirement, so I can reinforce the learning. So that's why I wanted to tell you that before we go on our break. And as we walk through that, so in the last training, we created the proposal outline. We did the compliance matrix. So if you're behind, play catch up, because you're going to use that. You're going to use that with your team. You're going to use that with people that you're onboarding, your employees who's going to work in the proposal department. Then that way you have solid training materials for your team, so that they see, okay, this is how you break it down. This is how you get started. And that way this will help onboard people on your team quicker. You see what I'm saying? So everything we do is to help you to be successful on the next, on proposal writing, because if you ain't bidding, you ain't winning. You understand? Well, I'm going to say you're not winning. I apologize. I was using bad grammar. So as you walk through this exercise, remember, we use the compliance matrix, the proposal outline, which we discussed in proposal level 1 training. Now, these tools aren't to ensure that you've addressed all of the requirements. Now, once you've addressed all the requirements, we went into, because we're trying to stay concise. We're making sure we're answering all of the agency's needs. We're not omitting anything. And then our proposal's getting kicked out. And then, so this is from the proposal outline that we use. So that way it makes it easier for the reviewers, and that we have a comprehensive and well-organized proposal. So I wanted to make sure I gave you the overview, because when we get back and from our break, then we're going to hit the ground running, because we got a lot of stuff to cover before the time is up in those 50 minutes before the 10 minutes Q&A. All right, let's get started, everyone. Okay, so let me pull, oh, I thought I pulled it over. Hold on, let me pull it over so you can all see. All right, so this is the opportunity that we went over in level 1, just so you can get a little, so I can bring you up to speed real quick. So we was focusing on small business. So what I tell people, new clients who's just getting started, go after the state, the local, start off with the small business requirements. Just set aside for small business, or set aside for, if you're a woman-owned small business, because if it's full and open competition, you remember you're competing with large businesses. So that's just the way it is. But if you want to just compete with other small businesses, especially when you're first getting started, I recommend you always look for the small business opportunities. And so we went over this opportunity. So I always tell them to go read the solicitation. We talked about all this stuff in here, the minimum requirements for the response. So when we created our response, we did our draft, we did our compliance matrix, then we started building on the draft. So what I did was I built a draft for you all, because people are visual. So in order to really get you to understand what a proposal is supposed to look like, and give you some kind of semblance of what is all supposed to be in here and how it appears. So the cover, we always going to have our cover to our response. I said this is marketing material. Make it beautiful. This is your branding. This is how you're going to be articulating to every proposal response that you go after. The only thing that's going to be changing basically is the proposal number, the due date, and who you're preparing it for. So you should have a template, whether you're using Canva, all those beautiful little Adobe Pros and all that other stuff out there. Design you a template for your small business. And that's the one you're going to use always, because you're trying to get them to use to learning, okay, XYZ is always on time, always responding to source assault notice, always doing everything. So your template will always look like your brand and their brand, because this is for that agency. So you can put you put your logo on the bottom, their logo on the top, however you choose. You can make the proposal their color, so you let them know, look, I customized this one for you. You do it however you want to do it, but this is your branding material. Because remember, that's how we see in everything, because we're trying to win. That's all we know, is we want to win, and we're going to present ourselves such. We're professional, we have high quality, we this, and then our response speaks to that, right? So then you're always going to have, so, I put my little notes in there. This language provided is to illustrate how you might respond to a janitorial RFP. Please remember this is a sample and should be customized to meet your specific requirements for each solicitation. When you're drafting your response, consider unique needs of that agency. So DHS might ask for something different. DISA might ask for something different. Understand your agency. That's who you use their words, their references, their everything, because we're speaking to that client, that particular client. We want them to know you special to me, and you so special, I customized this proposal response just for this opportunity, because you're going to have other opportunities with that agency again. And you just use that same template that you use for DHS, you're going to use for DHS. DHA, use that same template you created for DHA, because I'm telling you, each proposal response is different, and you're going to see the trends. You're going to see, oh, this agency like their stuff this way. This agency like their stuff this way. You understand? We want people to customize everything for us, so you do the same. So you're going to tailor your content to highlight your company's unique strengths, capabilities, past performance, directly address the agency's needs. Use this example as a guide, but ensure your proposal is specific, detailed, relevant to the opportunity that you are pursuing. So that's my disclaimer. Now, I've already told you, if you don't customize it, you ain't winning. So now I always recommend you do your company letterhead, the agency's name, the RFP number, the title, and the due date. So you can do whatever you want. If you don't want to put all that stuff in the header, that's on to you. This is your transmittal letter. This is your agency information, so forth and so on. We are pleased to submit a proposal response to whatever RFP number for janitorial services to that agency. Our team, your company's name, is excited to partner with this opportunity for the Bureau of Land Management, to maintain a clean, safe, healthy environment for all your buildings occupants. This is just me giving you a little something to get you started so you can start getting those wheels turning, so you know exactly what goes into a proposal response. Too many times we tell people out there, oh, just go do a proposal response, but you ain't never done it. You don't know what to ask for. You don't know what to look for. You don't know anything. So if they say, I want you to put the UEI number there, then you add a little cell in there and you put the UEI. If they say add the cage code, they say they want to know your business size. They want to know your certification. Do you have a GSA schedule? You just keep adding, because remember, you're building your template. So you got to hit that little box and just keep adding another line. If they ask for something, if they say they don't want it, delete the line. You're creating a template. You're making everything easy. Make this in a Word document, Google Docs, so you can share it with your proposal writer. Do whatever, however you want to do it, but just do it. Because you're going to see this is going to save you so much time when you go on through these opportunities, when you're just not starting from scratch. You got something, and then you just keep customizing them. And then don't put language in there, because what'll happen is you'll submit it with that language. So you're going to blank those things out. So it makes you go in and customize it, because too many times even with proposal response, we'll see contracting officers, they didn't cut and paste it from another opportunity in that same language from the other opportunity. You see what I'm saying? So everybody makes mistakes. That's why I say, when you create your templates, leave blanks, put highlights, because it'll make you go back and look at it. Because when you see, oh, that's a highlight, that means I need to add some, I need to change some, I need to modify. You understand? So that's why it's important you do that. So then I gave you a little bit more. This proposal outlines a comprehensive approach to delivering high quality janitorial service. Then you include what's all in it. I'm including our capabilities, my management approach, my quality control, my pricing strategy, whatever you want to put in there. You know what I'm saying? But make sure you're meeting the requirement. Don't put all that extra stuff in there. We want it clear and concise. We have carefully reviewed the requirement outline in the solicitation and the performance work statement, and are fully prepared to exceed. It's too many of us talking about meeting the standards. No, you want to exceed the standards, because everybody meeting standards. Most people are meeting standards. You want to exceed these standards. And then you just outline everything. Then if you have any questions, put your email. None of you don't, so most of you don't even have an email phone number. And then when you have a phone number, you don't even answer it. So if they wanted to call you and ask you for a question, or your voicemail ain't set up, put an email and a phone number. So if they can't get you a hold with the phone, put that email on there so they can get a hold to you quickly. You don't want them looking for anything. We want to make this easy. And then you sign it. You are signing this proposal. So many times we do not sign our proposals, even though you're going to sign in another section. Just sign it, letting them know that I've reviewed it. I did my QAQC. It's ready to go. All right. So then your table of contents. I believe in table of contents. You got to have it. They're going to tell you. Some people don't believe in putting a table of contents in there, but put that table of contents in there. So if you go back to the opportunity, when we built our compliance matrix, I went in there. The reason why I know it's a follow-on requirement, because I read the opportunity. I looked in the background information. This is a follow-on requirement to an ongoing requirement for janitorial services. So that lets me know right there, I need a transition plan. So then you will go over here, right? You can put your comment, you can highlight it, you can do whatever you feel like you need, but standardize it. Make it a process of your proposal writing process. Okay, this is how we do. So we know everybody's on the same sheet. One person putting highlights, one person putting comments, some person putting highlight. Make a process. Everything is a process, because I'm telling you, once you get that process, you're going to get faster. So you've read through this opportunity, it's ongoing, you've seen the objectives, so you can understand how we came to where we came, because we already looked at their objectives, we know their scope, we've went over there, this is a 5, I'm set, but remember, we got to make sure that they are going to, because what happens is we'll say, I got a 5-year contract. Well, how about they don't renew the contract? Then what? You see what I'm saying? How about you only get that base? You don't get those 4 option years because that's a reality. It's a reality. We have all these people out here going to writing these business, and then they get the contract and they don't even understand. So that's why we make sure we explain to you, you got to have a contingency plan. Even if you respond to this and, oh, yes, this looks good, it's got 5 years, it's not guaranteed. I'm telling you. I've been on contracts. They said they're gonna renew it. They did not renew it. And then what you do, that's why you got to have that pipeline. And those are other classes, but it all ties into all of that ties in. So you see right here, they said the quality control plan. So that's why it's important. That's why I tell it, you got to read it. You got to know what they're asking for. What are the requirements? So let's take it back to the sample. Okay, so you see, we did the technical, we got the executive summary, we understand the BL's requirements, because the table of contents, you built that to automatically update every time. You see what I'm saying? You updating it every time. So now let's go through it. So the executive summary, which was created last. This was created, I only put the bullets, the what you call them, headings. I put the heading, the subheadings, because I wanted to know where everything was. So then once I finished my proposal, I started putting, okay, we submitted this response according to the requirements outlined in the performance work statement. We have over a decade of experience delivering janitorial services to who? Federal agencies, if this is a federal requirement. But say I want to diversify my portfolio and I want to put, we did it for federal agencies. Maybe we've done it for commercial. We've done it as an employee for such and such, Johnson & Johnson, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? That's where you're going to put this, the high level stuff that makes you unique and different on here, because this is the first page they see. Although it's the last page, it's the first page you see. So that's why it's important that I created a sample for you all so you can see the detail, the level of detail, if you don't put it in, how it looks. So then I bolded it. And then if you want to asterisk, we'll put another color to highlight important things. Or if you're trying to market your capabilities a certain way, if you're doing marketing, right? Marketing, everything got to be clean, all right? If your marketing material is horrible, why do you think they're going to buy if you're not even presented in your proposal response? Because you're a marketing agency. So I'm expecting your proposal to look, it's going to wow me. It's going to look like a magazine almost, but it's a compliant magazine. So then now we got to talk about how we understand BLM's requirement. We fully understand, okay, because it's spanning approximately 60 square feet. Have you done something like that before? So that's why I'm telling you, it's important that you understand how to articulate to them. And then our proposal outlines a structured approach to daily, weekly, monthly, semi-annual cleanings tailored to specific needs of the facility and designed to ensure compliance with the PWS. So, like I said, we're visual people, so I have to articulate to you in a way that you can understand what a executive summary looks like. So we put one together so you can see what it looks like from that requirement. So all of this information is available on, this is before they take it down, you need to be going to this website and getting on sam.gov, pulling this requirement, using this as your template to build your template library, to do all those things you need to do because you're brand new. You have to start somewhere. So this is the perfect time and opportunity to use this as a template to build your content library, your proposal content library. This will be your first opportunity. You got someone walking you through the process. This one is a kind of a small solicitation. It's only 42 pages for the solicitation. So I felt like it was a great start for you all. And then the performance work statement, go in there and get that 28 pages. So it's not overwhelming, but it can't be so small that I don't teach you anything. So I had to find something in the middle so that way you can walk through this with me and you see that you can do this. It's very easy to do. It's very easy. Well, it's not very easy. It's a learn. And then once you learn it, it becomes easy. Okay, so we talked about the executive summary. But now you'll read in here, once you go through and read it, it's not, they didn't really say something about an executive summary, but you wanted to put your executive summary in there because you want to give them the highlight of the proposal. But now if they ask for it and they say put it in a different section, that's where you're going to put it. Then we have to, so you'll learn that you got to discuss the things about safety. If it says shall, must, will, you have to answer it, period. Are or required or any of those languages, then you need to answer it. So, and then reference. So if it's 6, so like this one is one, we got to go, the general information is at 1.6.1 control, quality control. So then we're going to go back to our sample, because that's why I created the sample, so you can see. Because I'm gonna leave off the executive summary, but you wanted to be able to see what right looks like, or a semblance of it. All right. So then right here, before I go to the quality control, we talked about our proposals, because remember, we're using their words. They wanted to know about a capability statement. So that's why I put the capability statement. They wanted to know about quality and the qualified and experienced personnel. So then normally you would change that word to key personnel, because I use the words if they said qualified person, then I better put key personnel, because they said key personnel. So it's like I'm using their words and explaining. So then they talked about the quality control program. So you can see I addressed the quality control, because I wanted them to know I had a dedicated supervisor with over 5 years experience in managing janitorial, or if it's 10 years or 12 years, so that they can have a confidence that we have. So then the quality control program, I addressed that, gave them a little blurb on that. Our transition plan, I talked about that, and then our pricing strategy, and then I wrapped it up. Our commitment to our clients' satisfaction. So let's go over the technical capability. So how you know where these different sections are. So you see, I put the experience and key personnel. So then you want to change that to mirror on your table of contents. That's why I say it's important that we do the formatting through a Word. So when you update one thing on your proposal template, it will update in your table of contents. So that's why when you're doing Adobe Pro and all those other ones, it doesn't do as much. So that's why I said it's important to understand. So what you do is when you go back, you look in here, we're talking about that section. So you see how I'm referencing the sections that they're asking me to reference. I'm recognizing the place of performance, because if you know you are not in the area and you want to go after this opportunity, so what that means, I need a teaming partner. So you're gonna have to. It's a no bid if you don't have a teaming partner. But because we have a presence in this area, we're going after this opportunity. So these are just the nuances of doing your proposal writing, the things we talk about in a different training, so you can understand the requirement. So let's get to the next section, because like I said, the time goes by so fast. So I just want to make sure you can have a nice overview, high level, but a nice overview of how to start your sample, how to update the sample. Now you see right here, they ask for special qualifications. So then you have to go back in here and address that, a special qualification section in here. And you can put it under the experienced and key personnel section and the technical capability. But notice how I reference things as outlined in section 5 of the performance work statement. If it was outlined in the section 5 of the performance work statement, if it was an evaluation criteria or something that I wanted to address, then you will put that in there too. Because see, what we're doing is referencing, cross-referencing, to make sure when we go to our compliance matrix, we've addressed every part of the requirement. So that's the importance of identifying, because you want to make sure you answer the mail, you answer everything that they've asked you for. So we go back to this. They said insert any specific certification requirements for the employees if deemed appropriate. So that's why I said make sure you have those sections, because then you're going to reference 1.6 6.8 special qualifications in your sample draft. So that way you know exactly what in your draft. So that way you know you've answered. And then so the contractor is responsible for ensuring all employees possess and maintain current OSHA cleaning certification during the execution of this contract. So if the contract is for 5 years, they better have that current thing for 5 years. You understand? Even if the contract gets canceled, then that's okay. But you are responsible for making sure these employees, subcontractors, maintain their special qualifications. Okay. So that means this is a call out. This is something specific they're asking for. So then when we go in here and address it, then you can put that, you can make sure you do a called out box. You can make a box up in here in your template. And then so when they call out something, you can call out that same thing. Okay. So let's keep going. All right, so we talked about the special qualifications. Now, also telling you about the post-award conferences and periodic progress meetings. So the contractor agrees to attend any post-conference convened by the contracting activity. So that means I need to address that in my table, right? Because you're identifying everything they're asking you to do in this contract. You've identified it, and I'm going to show you that in there. Who you're dealing with. So if you just take the time out to read it, I'm old school. I like to print out, I have papers and I write on everything, write notes, and I use that as my checklist. Now, if you Adobe, or you can write it, you can just put a comment and add the comment notes. You see, add a comment. If you're a digital person, there is more, and then that way you have it archived in your notes. So when the person that you've assigned as your proposal writing team, they'll have your notes from previous opportunities. Say if you go after this opportunity again and you win it and you want to win it again, because you still got to win the recompete, because it's fair game. Anyone can win the contract from you. So, all right. So, but it's ways to do it, to capture your information. So let's talk about it. So this is the one I wanted to show you. See how they're telling you key personnel. The following personnel are considered key personnel by the government. So that means you have to have a primary contract manager. They said contractor, alternate contract manager, contractor, and then you see your government PLCs. So you see now you can see why I addressed it. And then because it was highlighted in 2 areas, I told them this is for the specific task that they're talking about. And then I addressed the section that I referenced. So I said section 1.6.11, because I always do a cross reference so they know I've addressed it. And this person, the alternate contract person, and then your supervisor and your cleaning staff. That they not a key personnel. So I'm not really worried about the cleaning staff. These are the key personnel. Whoever they say are the key personnel, that's the ones they're worried about. Other people, they can come and go as they please. And then you see they gave you the qualifications. This one had to have a minimum, they said, of 1 year. So that was, I feel like this is a good one for a new company who's been in business less than 5 years, and they don't, or less than 2 years or 3 years, because this one only asks for 1 year minimum. So that's why I said read the requirements, see if you can do it or not, and then you can go from there. And then that's why they're telling you identify contract employees. Now they're asking you about your employees, so then you will go through that part to go to address, making sure address everything, your cleaning staff. Okay, so that's why I create the proposal response, to make sure you understood. So now notes and attendees, I always got to give you notes. As part of your proposal, it is essential to include detailed resumes for all key personnel. Now they're not asking for everyone else, they're asking for your key personnel. These resumes should highlight the individual's relevant experience, qualifications, certifications, specific roles, and delivering the required service. Ensure the resumes demonstrate expertise and the capability of the team members to meet the agency's requirement, particularly focusing on experience with similar contracts. I'm always focusing on, because I'm telling you, if they can do better than you, they're going to get it. period. Whoever can say it the best and write it the best is going to win. Now they're making you do oral presentations. So because we have the AI and people always say, well, why am I use chat? Okay, you can use it, but you better know how to speak it. Because when you go in front of them and have to do your oral presentation, okay, how did you get this? How did you get this? Okay, so why did you write this? They're gonna dissect your response. So be prepared for that. Okay, and so customizing resumes to align with requirements. So if this is a janitorial requirement, please take all your IT stuff out. They're not asking about IT. Please take out your lawn service, all the other stuff. This requirement needs to be specialized. They want to see relevant and similar opportunities. So whatever, but make sure it showcases. All right, so I gave you a template in here. I said the resume template, key personnel. These are the things that must be in the applicant's name and their title. So if this the contract managers, if this one is the supervisor / form, this whatever. You understand what I'm saying? The qualification summary, how many years? Because remember, they asked for a minimum of 1 year. Relevant certifications, relevant experience. Sometimes they be like, well, we want you to have a bachelor's degree. Sometimes we want you to have a master's degree. Sometimes in those, it's a janitorial service contract, but you still got to have a secret clearance. You understand what I'm saying? So some of those agencies, they don't care what the job is. You will have a clearance because you're going to be around people that have that. You're going to be coming in sensitive areas. So you have to have the clearance. And then I gave you just some information to put in there: position title, the company or AG, the period of performance in that position, and giving them a little specific task. Keep everything concise and short to the point. I'm telling you, concise, short to the point, because when you put too much fluff, then they can't see all of the stuff that you've really accomplished and that you meet the requirement. So that's why it's important that you keep it short, sweet, and simple. And then, your education, your highlight, your skills and your achievements and all that. But I always put the hot buttons because, people, they tend to read at the top real quick. So, we got it already highlighted for you. Put your call box actions. You can format the template however you want it. You can make it beautiful. I'm just giving you the content. Now you got to go make it beautiful. Okay, so and that's why I said the resumes goes behind those people that you've identified. So now let's talk about the specific tasks. Now we got to talk about how we're going to respond to specific tasks. So when you go to the performance work statement, you've already identified that we've got they want to talk about the organizational conflicts, phase in, phase out. So, but like I said, this is a sample just to get you started. You need to make sure that everything has been captured in there. That's what the compliance matrix for. That's where everything else for. The solicitation provides you with the instructions, evaluation criteria. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's a reason. So if you go right here, you looking for them. We've already talked about the minimum requirements. They're telling you sign SF 1449 with all the information and price continue. Okay. Then they're telling you, see how I was talking about the quantity, the unit, the unit price and the amount. This one gave you a sheet already to fill out for the base and the option years. But before you go filling out this sheet, you need to create this in an Excel spreadsheet. So that way you can do all your total. And then once it's ready and you've done all the numbers, then you fill in this sheet, because you don't want to mess this up. This is your final numbers. You go in there and you do your spreadsheet and you start building, so you know exactly how much cost, how much I'm gonna charge for the base year, the option if they renew it, how much profit I'm gonna make, so forth and so on. So that's why I say always create your Excel spreadsheet according to this. Okay, so then let's keep going. All right, so you've read everything. These are the inspection and acceptance. You're talking about the assignment. Read the clauses. You need to learn what's in these clauses. You need to learn. And if you don't understand something, you make a note next to it so you can either go watch a video on YouTube, talk to your counselor, because YouTube University got a lot of stuff on there. They got all these government agencies who have YouTube channels who are giving this information out here for free. For free. Save your money. You're brand new in government contract. You don't have any money as it is. Save your money so you can pay your payroll and your expenses to keep your business. Use these resources out here. Learn about the FAR clauses and stuff like that. Okay. And that'll save you a long way. They tell you what excusable delays is. They tell you how you're going to do your invoicing. The contractor shall submit an original invoice and 3 copies. They're telling you that what's supposed to be on the invoice. And then we don't get paid right, and we don't understand why we're not getting paid right, because we haven't been invoiced right. You didn't even put all the information that they requested on that invoice. So they give you the instructions on there. Okay, but I'm gonna get down to the section. But while I'm going through it, I just wanted to let you know that this information is out there for you. So that's why it's important. All right, so the overview, the interest, they tell you about the interest and so forth and so on. But what I'm trying to get you, and how they would terminate it. But what I want to get you down to is the reason why we set up our sample draft the way we did. So that way, when they're evaluating this requirement, because I'm going to go to the evaluation criteria, just keep reading through everything on your own time. Right now, we got to get this training, but I just wanted to see the level of detail and all that goes into a proposal response, all the reading that is involved, everything you need to do to be successful in bidding on this response. Okay, so let's go to the evaluation criteria. They're telling you about option to extend services. They're just telling you about all the prompt payment, stop work. You know, all you need to know about that, stop work if you ain't doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and they send you some notices. All right, let's go to that's the reps. So you see why I told you take your time, because they saying you got to tell the offer represents that it will or will not. You see how they're making, you have to fill out the information. So that's why I said it's important that you look at every part of this. You've checked it. You've done your compliance matrix. You've done everything in this opportunity. Now let's go to the eval, because we still have a little bit more time before we get to question and answer. Now here it is. You see what it says? 52.212-1. These are the instructions to offer. So then you would highlight that, right? Highlight it if you want to put a note in here to add this to your compliance matrix and so forth and so on. So that's why the compliance matrix help you to stay focused, making sure that you've completed. So on your compliance matrix, you've been put 52.2. Okay, I've done that. And each part of it, that one is complete. So they're telling you about your set-asides. They're telling you submission of offer. They said submit, sign, and dated offer to the office specified in the solicitation at or before the time, right? But don't submit it too early, because how about an amendment come out? You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I always say, don't submit it too early, because you got to talk about how about if the amendment come out. They're telling you what needs to be on it, the solicitation number. Remember, we talked about this. It's telling you everything, okay? But I want you to see the evaluation. They're telling you to acknowledge if the solicitation or amendment. So you'll see that in the past performance. That is the reason why I set the proposal up the way I did. And you set that proposal outline up correctly, then you could just fill in the content. They want to talk about the terms, any express warranty. So this is a good foundation to build your proposal draft when you're completing the draft. And because I get many questions about how did I build the draft, because I use that instructions in the evaluation criteria to build that table of contents. And then I built my outline, and then I started filling in the content for it. So that's the reason why I wanted to go back to that, because I didn't address how I came to this. Okay. So because I did everything they told me, the technical description, the terms, price, if we give any discounts, and that's mainly for the people with the GSA schedules and stuff. But if you want to give a discount, because if they're trying to get the lowest price technically acceptable, but if you give a discount and you can afford to, that's why it's important that you do your pricing sheet. Okay. All right. So then we did the acknowledgement of, and you'll see where I put that in the You've seen where I put it. They said if you got any samples, multiple, they're just telling you. So just read those different things right there. They're telling you about the late submission. If it's late, they're not going to even look at it. I'm telling you right now. And you spent all that time and money on writing a response just to not get their response in on time. So I always tell them, submit it the day prior. If it's due this day, submit it the day prior, because one time we submitted a response, the computers were acting up, the formatting was off, everything was a hot mess. We could not get that thing to work. And so now we're frantic, now we're panting, so you don't want that. Submit it the day prior. So I just feel like it's better to just submit it the day prior. Now read the debriefing information. That's the information that you're going to receive. So you submitted it. They're telling you if a post-award briefing is given to requesting offers, the government shall disclose the following information. That's all they're going to give you. They're not giving you anything else. They're telling you number one, number two, number three. So understand what they're going to ask, because many times people will ask, well, what was the other people's proposal response? They're not going to tell you that. And then to even get some of that information, you have to do a FOIA request, and that's another class. So just put them definitions, look them up, find out what it means, and then that's another class right there itself. So now the reason why I was telling you about the evaluation criteria, why it's important you understand. This one, you see, the government will award a contract resulting from the solicitation to a responsible offer who offer conforming to the solicitation would be most advantage for the government. Everything is most advantage for the government. That's the way they do it. And they're looking at this by what? Price and other factors considered. So that's why I said people be like, well, no, they really want. An award will be made to the contractor whose proposal conforms to the solicitation and represents best value to the government based upon price and other factors. The low price may not be the deciding factor for the solicitation. So this one is telling you, we're not just going by the lowest price technically acceptable, but any trade up in the price must be justified by the more advantages with the technical capability and the past performance. So that is the reason why I wanted you to see the value. So you see why I took the most time to write that technical capability. And then making sure you address each task, because they're grading it on the technical capability first and your past performance. So if you haven't really explain to them your technical capability, you in trouble, and your past performance. They said no award will be made above the available budget. So say you overpriced your requirement, they already kicking that out. It's right there, it's kicked out. That's why it's important that you do your market research and you see what your competition is charging. What is the going rate for this? Have they bought this service before? Yes, they have. They did. So that means we need to go do some research, because this is a follow-on contract. Okay, if they didn't pay, and then you thought you were going to make this amount of money, but when you looked at the research and seen, oh no, I am not making any, is it worth going after this? Is it worth putting all that energy into writing a responsive proposal? So the government will evaluate quotes submitted in response to the solicitation in accordance with the factors listed below. And then they tell you. You see why? I'm telling you, it's important. If they're asking you for these things, it needs to be in this response. That's why I label the response technical capability, because that is what they're grading me on, a technical capability / requirement, because this is a requirement that we're reviewing. So, and they said graded as exceeds, met, or does not. That's it. It's either it exceeds, it meets, or it does not meet. And if they say it does not, they're not going to even keep looking at it. And they're telling you the technical capability will be assessed based on proposers' demonstrated experience providing services of similar size. So if it's in the opportunity, it said something in the background about how many square feet, right? So then we want to make sure we've had something in that same square feet that we can articulate. And if we haven't, we need a partner. We need to go get us a team and partner, or we need to get a team and partner that has that experience. Then they're asking you the scope. Is it commercial? Is it the municipal? Is it the state or other federal agencies? See, they want to know exactly, because that's how they're going to grade you. And then they're talking about your labor, supervision, quality control, your tools, equipment, supplies. So you see why it's important to understand what they're asking you and how you're going to be graded. So that means I need to respond to all of this. I need to respond, letting them know that I've met all of these. And then I will map it. I cross-reference that I've met it, so that way they can see for themselves. They've said you're going to demonstrate the qualifications, specific key personnels. Via this one, they want to know about that supervisor or that foreman, right? And then they want you, the contractor must provide resumes and or summaries of the key staff. So you see why I put the resume template in there, because they're going to be looking at that. The technical response must include a transition plan with a notional date for beginning services, a start date that aligns with the requested date, with rated higher on the scale. They're going to be rated higher on the scale. So you see why I always tell you, they talked about the recruitment of any subcontractors. So that's why I said when they ask you stuff, the best believe they're telling you what section to put it in. They're telling you everything. And if they don't tell you, then you put it in the most section that you feel that is deemed to go in. So you'll see why I say what and then you'll see I put a little timeline in here for you, giving you an example of what that's supposed to look like. So I started putting the specific tasks in. Okay, this is what we're going to do. It aligns. Then you start speaking about the specific task, and then what section I got that information from. So we know. And that way, and then if you want to add an exhibit in here, showing them how you're going to do stuff, you want to do process workflows to break up the content, so forth. You're telling them twice per week from May 1st to October 1st. It's however you want to set it up. And then, or do you want to use bullets, or do you want to number it out, or however you plan on doing it? So like, that way it makes it easy for the evaluator to go, because many times I see bullets, but I prefer the numbering out. That's just, it's your preference or what they ask for. And that's the rest of the stuff in here. I was just putting this in here for you to have an example. But you see, when you don't break things out with bullets, highlights, breaking up the content, things can get missed, like the monthly services, restrooms. So you will bold that. You will make that a subheading, and then you will bold out either whether you do bullets, but don't clump all the stuff in there. Make it easy for the evaluator, the person who's going to be evaluated, so that way things don't get overlooked. So I always leave a little bit in here so you can see what it looks like, and then what it looks like when you break out the information. You see how I put the transition plan in. Here's an example how to assist you with creating the, you just write, because, I put a little set right here. Okay, the transition plan outlines the steps the company will take to ensure a smooth, efficient start of the janitorial services. So then I did a little timeline. Okay, the contract award, pre-mobilization meeting, boom. Then you just go down and then you put the description. Okay, the notification. I received a notification award in coordination with the client. Who role is it? Is it the supervisor? Is it the contract manager? Is it the alternate contract manager? A notional date and then completion date. So that's what you're going to do for everything. So that's why I say put everything in a Word document. Have your template so it's easy to add lines and delete lines. Add lines and delete, and to easily to modify everything, because you saved everything in a template. So it's very easy. And then you're just capturing all that information. Our company is committed to delivering, I'm still giving them more information. And then you go down to the next set. I start breaking out with the product section 1.61. Then I started a comprehensive rating quality control plan will be provided with our proposal. And then I'm going to answer. And what's going to be in that proposal? It's going to be an inspection and monitoring procedures, the deficiency identification and corrections, preventive maintenance, and continuous improvement. And then how we're going to, our submission and approval quality control plan. So you see how I just outlined everything, and then I started writing in there and putting the information. But you have to read the performance work statement, because it's going to tell you what they want to see and how you're going to be graded. So you see how everything ties in, and this is why many people struggle with their writing their proposal response, because they don't know where everything is supposed to go. The way it goes is you follow the instructions and you see how they evaluate you. So we did the technical capability. So now let's go to the past performance. So you see why I kept everything in its section. They told you how they're going to do the past performance. So I created the past performance. The past performance information would include, and see, I got it from the evaluation factor or the instructions or whatever. I get it from wherever, and then I list where I got it from. So the past performance, number one, it was with a project with DHS or DHI or just so wherever it was. And then I put that agency, I put the contract number. If it wasn't a contract number, I put a PO number, put whatever number, your invoice number, whatever you want to put, which who it was with, the amount, when it started, when it ended, and what was your role. They want to know your role. Even if it's an employee, they want to know your, and then who was the POC to verify this work. And the description of the work should include what was in the requirement. So if you were working on a previous contract, that means there was a performance work statement, there was some kind of specific task or something of that nature. You see what I'm saying? So that is what you're going to put right here, because you basically you crosswalking, you're just mapping all your requirements to show them that I am capable, willing, and able to do it, because I've done it before. I've done it before 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. Okay. Because we're about to get ready to end, and I have to give, I got to give time for question and answers. I told you this one was going to be strong and quick and showing you the past performance. So you see, pricing, note to the attending when preparing your proposal, ensure you write directly in this form for this requirement. Other ones may not. And then the last thing, because I'm opening up for question, you see how I made a tab for acknowledging of solicitations. So you want to be able to make sure they ask for a solicitation, you acknowledge there were no solicitations or there were solicitations. And then the last thing, your terms. If it says you got to keep it for 180 days and so forth and so on, then that is how you have to do it. So this is a short, quick how you create and how you go through the opportunities and get and fill out all the information. And then that was all for the evaluation criteria. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions.
Thank you, Akeisha. Nice and thorough as usual. Okay, let's go through some let's go through some questions.
Okay.
First question is, will you be providing us with those slides you just went through? And do you have a sample compliance matrix?
Well, the sample compliance matrix was in the level 2 training. And yes, you will all get the slides and for today's session. You will definitely get the slides for today's session. And the compliance matrix was in the slides of the last. So that's why I said for those who didn't attend that was in that slideshow for the compliance matrix.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, what are your thoughts on an RFP that sets a 20-page limit, but you can address all the requirements in 12 pages? Do you think we need to reach the minimum number?
Well, I think it's a strategy, right? Because you can do it in 12 pages. That means you're going to have some graphics in there so that can break up the content and push it to another page, right? It's all about, okay, so did you do your storyboard? Okay, how are we going to tell this story to the client? Okay, we can do it in 12 pages. Well, we want to make sure we don't miss anything. You can do a flow chart at the beginning of it, right? That's going to push it down. And then explain the flow chart. This is our process. Put a timeline in there, some way, because they don't, I mean, yes, you can do it in 12, but did you really articulate everything that could have been articulated so you can get it to at least 15 pages? You understand what I'm saying? And that is, now if you can get it well thought out in those 12 pages, but then sometimes when I look at those proposals, it didn't really tell it didn't tell the whole story. You understand what I'm saying? It didn't really tell everything, like the process, the tools, the timeline, and those things that I talked about in there, in the call outs. Did the resumes included? Did you give a nice little recap and like a crosswalk? So it's some things that could be in there to make sure it's concise. That's what we want to make sure it's concise and it's compelling. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I also uploaded your proposal writing level 1 presentation in the chat box that contains the compliance matrix. So for anybody interested in downloading that, that's there. Okay, next question. The RFP mentions available budget. Where is the budget listed in the RFP?
Well,
And
they're
is
not
this
going
a,
to tell you.
I'm sorry,
Go
what'd you
ahead,
say?
go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, what were you saying?
Sorry, the second part was, is this a question to ask during the Q&A time period?
Okay, so for the budget, that's like a different training because the budget you know that's a no, that's not this training because the budget it got more to it than that because that was when they did their funding and they got their money allocated. That's in a different yeah, that's a different class. I'm sorry because it's a long
It's
winded.
okay. Let's see. Thank you for the presentation. You're welcome. Is there a way we can look at a previously submitted proposal that won a contract to see best practices?
Well, the only way you can see is okay. So that's that FOIA request that we keep that I think it's FOIA, the FOIA request, and it's a process. Then once you get the deck, when you get it, it's gonna be redacted because the company redacts all their proprietary information, so you don't know what you're gonna get when you go request it because you got to spend money. It's I mean they say it's free, it's not free because somebody has to go pull it and then they go by calculation of hours and stuff. So definitely go read a video on watch a video on FOIA requests if you're trying to go look at someone else's proposal because they're gonna redact it. They're gonna take a lot of information out. So I don't know if it's worth. It could be worth doing a FOIA request or not. But that's how you get other previous submitted proposals. That's one from the FOIA.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that seems to be all the questions. So thank you, Akeisha. And thank you everybody for participating today. I will be sending out the slides and the recording will be available this afternoon. So please keep checking your email. And Akeisha, we will see you next month. I believe it's a cost proposal class.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we will see Akeisha next month for cost proposal. So make sure you sign up for that. If you just go to our training calendar, you will see all the classes. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Akeisha, for a wonderful presentation. And thank you, everybody. See you again.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.